Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about quite a few friggin' books. So for the month of December, I participated in the 'Tis the Season-a-thon, which went from the 2nd to the 8th. And then I also participated in the Reindeer-a-thon, and I was on Team Mistletoe, with Break Even Books being the team captain. It's actually still December right now. It is the 21st. I don't know, where am I? Yes, it is the 21st. So I do still have some time, but the only two prompts that I did not complete, one is for a book that's over 500 pages and it's the bonus, the Christmas Star, and it needed to be a book that you read for a different prompt. And I didn't read any that were over 500 pages, so there's that. And then the other one that I have not completed and I'm not going to complete is, I think it's Vixen, and it's the comic book or graphic novel. So I'm doing my wrap up for that now. For the 'Tis the Season-a-thon, you could use a book to complete multiple challenges. So I used one book to complete all of the challenges except for the group book. The book that I used to complete the 5 core challenges is What Child Is This by Caroline B. Cooney. This is definitely a reread for me. I have read this book many, many times. It's very short. It's very sweet. It's a little bit religious. That doesn't really bother me. I grew up religious, and the first time I read it was when I was younger, and I guess I still was like a Christian. It's a sweet little Christmas tale. It's like a little Hallmark movie style thing, like a touching one, not like the holiday romance one. There's no romance in this. Is there romance? No. So this fit on my 1 to 10. I gave this a 6.5, which is 3 pushinicorns. And this book also completed the Dasher challenge for the Reindeer-a-thon, which is to read a book under 250 pages, which it definitely is. And then for 'Tis the Season-a-thon, the group buddy read book was 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. This is a little YA holiday contemporary, and I was very nervous because YA contemporary romance often does not work out for me, so I was like, this could go either way. But I actually thought this was pretty cute. There were no tropes being used too heavily that really get on my nerves. The premise is that this girl is starting off the holidays with her gigantic family right after she and her boyfriend have broken up for reasons. And her whole entire family takes it upon themselves to plan these 10 blind dates. And she just is like, okay, I'm gonna go along for the ride. There was a couple times where the plot, I was like, okay, that was very contrived, or different things. There was like a whole subplot that I don't think needed to be in the book. Really, the only point I could see to it being in the book was that it gave her a reason to take a little road trip 2 times. And that was really it. Otherwise, that whole subplot had no impact on the larger story. But regardless, it was still fun and cute and kind of just what I want a little holiday romance to be. Like, just fun, fluff, cuteness, and all that. And this also fit the challenge for the Reindeer-a-thon. For Donner, read a book that you think has a beautiful cover, because I do think this is a super cute, fun, aesthetically pleasing little cover. On my 1 to 10, I gave this a 6.7, which is 3.5 pushinicorns. So those 2 books took care of 'Tis the Season-a-thon for me. Since that one was shorter, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna read 5 actual books in that amount of time, so I just picked one that could fit all of them except for the buddy read. So then for Reindeer-a-thon, the next book, Dasher was the first prompt, and that was What Child Is This? The second prompt is Donner, and that was to read a book that has music as like a central theme, music or dance. So I have read this book 2 or 3 times prior, and then I watched the Netflix movie this year, and I knew they were different, but I kind of forgot one thing, and I thought that the book also had this theme of one of the characters trying to set up a dance, or a party rather, and that is Let It Snow. But it doesn't. The book does not have that. The book does have this character trying to get everybody to come to the Waffle House. In the book, it's actually the Waffle House. But in the movie, he's like being a little DJ and he's trying to get this other famous DJ to come, and it's like a whole party. And that was not in the book, so I feel kind of like a cheater. But I mean, I read the fucking book, so I'm still counting it. But this one, the first story is by Maureen Johnson, and that one is my favorite one. The second one is John Green, and then the third one is Lauren Miracle. And I feel so bad because all the reviews that had anything negative to say all said pretty much the same thing. But wow, the last story, the one by Lauren Miracle, like, I'm sure she's a lovely person, or they are a lovely person, I'm not sure. But oh my God, it's painful, and it's like I forget every year, but then as soon as I start reading it, I'm like, oh, that's fucking right. The main character in the third story is one of the most obnoxious characters ever. She's sweet and whatever, but she is the whiniest, just whiniest little woe is me, everybody's out to get me, everything sucks and everything's about me. And that's the whole point, is like in the plot, is her friends are trying to tell her like, you are so self-absorbed, oh my God. And she kind of comes around eventually, but like the way that she came about it was so contrived. It was literally like she talked to one other person who was telling her this, and like the light bulb just clicked on. Like, it wasn't like character growth. It was just like character flip a switch, and now all of a sudden she gets it suddenly. And it was just, you know, I mean, what can you do with that, I guess, in such a short story? But something else, my God. And then even the second story, the one by John Green, I don't love. And it's one that I think I don't love more and more as I get older and become more like, I don't know, aware of certain things. And it just isn't aging well, I think. And the sexism is just rampant in the second one, like heavily. And the not like other girls trope is a thing, and it's just not exactly my cup of tea. The first one I think is cute, fun. It's just a cute, fluffy little, quick little romance, and it's cute. I like it. You know, on my 1 to 10 on this reread, I gave this a 5.16, which is 2.5 pushinicorns. If I were to rate the individual stories, I would probably give the first one a 3 or a 3.5. The second one I would probably give like a very medium 3 or a high 2.5. And then the third one I'd probably give a 2, honestly. And then the next one is Prancer, and that was to read a book that has moved around on your shelves a lot, but you haven't gotten to it yet. And I picked Gotita de Dragon by Nick Joaquin. This is a Filipino author. I picked this up when I was in the Philippines last January. So yeah, it's moved around a bit. And it's just 4 short stories. And they're kind of like folklore, folk tales. I don't know, I didn't give this a rating because it very much felt like middle grade. I didn't necessarily love any of them super huge amounts, but you know, for what they were, I enjoyed reading them. Next up was Vixen, and that prompt was to read a book with a main character who's like a strong female character. That's probably not the exact verbiage, but whatever, you know what I'm saying. And I read The Stars We Steal by Alexa Dunn. This is an ARC that I was graciously given at BookNet Fest. Alexa Dunn was there. And I buddy read this with Bethany at Beautifully Bookish Bethany and Mara at Books Like Whoa. And we all felt very similarly about it. I liked it. And I would have liked it more than I did. I didn't dislike it at all. Like, there wasn't anything about it that like super annoyed me necessarily, mostly because the stuff that did annoy me was very brief and at the end. So if the ending had been a little bit different, I would have rated this slightly higher. It's definitely YA. It's marketed as like Jane Austen meets The Bachelor in space. If that sounds like something that's up your alley, I would definitely recommend it. And I think it definitely is for a younger audience. And some YA can kind of push into new adult, but this is very YA. And the biggest thing that we were talking about was the romance. So towards the end, like, basically we weren't really super, at least me and Bethany. I think Mara said similar things, but Bethany and I we were shipping a non-canon romance. The canon romance, Bethany said, and I agree, she was like, I bet a younger audience would just like be dying for this. But we're a little older and we just see things a little differently. And so we were kind of like, I don't really like this a whole heck of a lot, but okay, wish you were with this other person, but I guess we'll take that person. So there's that. And the ending just felt a little bit rushed to me. And the writing throughout the whole book, I was good, the pacing was good, characters were fun, and I was interested in the story and everything. But then towards the end, it kind of felt, the ending just got a little bit kind of cheesy for me, I guess is what I would say. And again, a younger audience might see it completely differently and think like it's great and it's fun. I just was kind of like, okay. But I would still definitely recommend this. I did not dislike this by any means. I had an enjoyable time reading it. We have some LGBT rep in this book as well, which was nice. On my 1 to 10, I gave this a 5.83, which translates to 3 pushinicorns. The next prompt is comment, and that was to read a book that you think will have a big impact on you, or alternatively, a sci-fi. So I went with a book that I think will have a big impact on me because I was just anticipating loving it, really hoping I was gonna love it, and that is The Guinevere Deception by Kiersten White. I think I'm gonna do a separate review of this, so I'm not gonna get too into it, but this is an Arthurian legend reimagining, retelling, and the focus is Guinevere. And Guinevere is a changeling sent by Merlin to protect Arthur. So she's trying to find out, any plots against Arthur and so on, and things ensue from there. I really liked this, a lot. I could see some people not liking it, at least in the middle, the pacing. I personally didn't really have a problem with it, but there was it was probably 2 chapters or so where I kind of had some thoughts of what are we doing here? But like I said, it only lasted maybe 2 chapters, and then things started happening and I was fine. So nothing annoyed me in that regard enough to really bother me or bring down my enjoyment, but I could just see a lot of people not loving the pacing in the middle. I think Jenna at Bibliofilth did not like this book, and that was something that she noted in her Goodreads review that I saw. It didn't bother me, for whatever reason. I think because I just loved Guinevere. I really liked her. And something else that Jenna said that I think is a fair assessment is that the other characters are a little surface level. And it's going to be a trilogy, so I'm really hoping that she kind of dives into a few of the other characters a bit more. But Guinevere is definitely the focus here, and she is the character with the most depth and complexity. And I'm very excited for the next book, and supposedly it's coming out next year, but I don't know when. And it's probably not going to be until next fall. On my 1 to 10, I gave this an 8.6, which translates to 4.5 pushinicorns. Next up was Cupid, a book with romance as its main theme, and various ones could have fit for this, but I went with Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by David Levithan and Rachel Cohn. I read this for the first time 2 years ago. I really like Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. There are a few times the green slips here when they annoy me a little bit, mostly Lily. She's just, I can't relate to her. She's a little bit of a baby sometimes, but that's fine. She's allowed to be a baby. It just irks me on a personal level. And this book is funny because you know how people talk about hating when teenagers talk all pretentious and whatever, like John Green, YA character speak, you know what I mean? And sometimes I also hate it. Sometimes it feels really contrived and really forced and just fake, But Dash in particular, Lily a little bit too, but Dash definitely speaks like that. And it doesn't bother me. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about how David Levithan wrote him or wrote the dialogue or what, but I think it's a fun time. I like Dash. I like him as a character. On my 1 to 10, I gave this a 6.83, which translates to 3.5 pushinicorns. And then the last book that I completed for this readathon was for Rudolph, reading a book with red on the cover, and that is Breakfast at Tiffanys by Truman Capote. I've had this on my radar for a minute because, I'm obsessed with Audrey Hepburn, and so obviously I've seen and own Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I've watched it many times, and I just love it, and I love Holly Golightly, and I had never read this novella. This book was written in 1958, and it shows. Good God. And okay, the movie, what's his fucking name? Oh my God, I'm blanking out on the actor. The actor who played Mr. Yunioshi. At any rate, it's very problematic. They dressed this white man up as this complete caricature of an Asian man, of a Japanese man, and then gave him this ridiculous accent. Not even an accent, just his speech. It was just, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The book is super fucking racist. Like, holy God. The N-word is used, not directed to a person, but talking about someone being sloppy smoking cigarettes and being blank-lipped. And I don't have words. And then the Mr. Yunioshi's character is referred to in racial slur for Japanese people, which I'm not going to repeat either. Many times he's called that. And then just, there's the Brazilian guy, not described super well. Anybody with darker skin basically is given a name, and they're given different slurs and whatever. Like I said, the N-word wasn't used ever, like, calling someone that, but, like, that doesn't make it cool that you used that word. And just, yeah, it was just oof, the oofiest of oofs. So, definitely a case of liking the movie better than the book, because the movie did have, like I said, that problematic representation of a Japanese character, very problematic, but they weren't using this language in the movie. And if it wasn't for just Holly Golightly being this just entertaining, delightful, hot-ass mess of a person, and this being so short, I definitely would have rated it lower than I did because of the blatant fucking racial slurs and racist shit being said. So on my 1 to 10, this ended up getting a 5.3, which is just barely high enough to be a 3 pushinicorn rating. 5.2 is where my 2.5 cuts off. This video is already hella fucking long because this is the first time I've read this many books in a month in forever, or in a recent wrap-up or anything. But I want to talk about the 2 holiday-themed books that I own, that I tried reading for this readathon, that I ended up DNFing and deciding, I don't think I'm going to try to read these ever again. So the first one I'll probably keep, and I might try again. I think I just wasn't in the mood for what it is, and that is The Christmas Train by David Baldacci. Our main character, he's like traveling across country on a train for various reasons, and hijinks ensue, and there's all these characters on the train and whatever. And I remember the first time I read it, it was years ago, but I just remember having this like, oh, it was just a cute, fun little Christmas book. But this time around, I was just like, who the fuck is this main character? And I wasn't in the mood to deal with him. First up, he fucking calls his girlfriend baby doll, and like, not in an ironic or being funny way. He's like, look, baby doll, I don't want to argue either. And I was just like, who the fuck? Is this the 1940s? Like, what? And then, this is another example. He's talking about this woman, and he says, and this is after a couple other times where he is talking about women in kind of a, it wasn't like, oh God, super misogynistic and sexist, but it was very focused on their looks. And I was kind of annoyed, but then this happened, and I was like, okay, She was tall and still slender, and hadn't cut her auburn hair short as so many women closing in on 40 do. It was still shoulder length and sexy. Her face, well, there were a few more lines there, yet they possessed an attractiveness, a statement that the owner had actually lived, that smooth, unblemished skin could never match. And I'm like, okay, that's nice that you're saying that her wrinkles are, sexy, or her age lines are attractive. Cool. I like that concept, that we're not like shaming an older woman, except then we are in the same thing. You're saying like, oh, so many women closing in on 40. If a bitch wants to cut her fucking hair, let her cut her hair. I know lots of chicks who are in their 20s who chop their hair short. What is this concept even? I was just like, what is this weird stereotype? I've never heard this before, I guess. Maybe I'm oblivious. Maybe you guys are gonna comment and be like, oh yeah, I've heard that so many times. But like, what? And then I started notating every time he was kind of like fat shaming later. And that's what these purple ones are. 3 within like 3 pages. And that's about where I decided, yeah, no, I don't want to listen to this guy's inner thoughts. DNF'd, not sure if I'll ever try to read again. And then this book that all I remembered about it was, I think I remember that being funny. And that is Holidays on Ice by David Sedaris. I don't fucking know. It's a bunch of short stories. It's a bunch of like personal essays, I think. A couple are fiction. This was written, I think, in 1997, and it shows. Oh my fucking God. I only read the first essay, and it's him talking about his experience working at a Santaland thing as an elf during the holidays. And there's literally no point to the whole fucking story other than, hey, watch me mock people and make fun of people and just be a general dick. And specifically, like, developmentally disabled people, like adults that are developmentally disabled, etc. He's just making fun of them constantly. And the holy fucking shit moment happened on page 15 when, in this one paragraph, he says the R word 5 fucking times. And he's talking about a group of people, and he's mocking them and saying they were profoundly the R word. It's just so fucking offensive for no reason. And then all these green are other offensive things. And then this one really got me, talking about the other elves that work in the Santaland. Many of the elves are young high school and college students. And mind you, this character, or it's not even a character, it's him. He's talking about his experience. He's 33 at the time, my age, okay? So, many of the elves are young high school and college students. They're young and cute, and one of the job perks is that I get to see them in their underpants. The changing rooms are located in the employee bathrooms behind Santaland.
The fuck?
What in the fuck? And like one of the blurbs on the back is like not even remotely politically correct or heartwarming. And some of the reviews of people that liked this were like, ha ha ha, so funny. And I was just like, nothing about this is funny. It's just like you're being offensive for shock value. And to me, that's so unfunny. It's just like dumb. So yeah, hard DNF. I just kind of want to throw this in the trash, honestly. There's another book that I started in the end of November that I finished, and I'm going to talk about it because I don't want to wait for another wrap-up, and that is Beyond Redemption by Michael J. Fletcher. This was actually the 70th book that I completed this year, which was my Goodreads reading goal for the year, so thanks, Michael J. Fletcher. I'm going to do a separate review video for this book just because because I kind of have a few things to say about it. This is an adult grimdark fantasy, and when I say grimdark, I mean, maybe I don't read enough, but it felt pretty fucking dark to me. There's literally not a single character in this book, and there's there's a fair cast of characters. Not a single fucking one that is good. Not one. They're all bullshit, trash humans. So in this world, all mental illnesses involve a delusion of some kind. But the delusions can become real. Like you can manifest them Like, the more people lose their sanity and the more they kind of fall into these delusions, the more real the delusions become. So perception is literally reality in this world. So if you have a mental illness so it becomes a power, basically. So if you have a mental illness where you think you have a literal doppelganger, like you think there's another version of you out in the world, it will manifest and other people will be able to see it. So it gives you like magical powers, essentially, to have these delusions, to be insane. Very, very interesting premise, but it fell a little flat for me, mostly because it was a little fucking confusing, honestly. Certain things weren't really explained that I thought should have been. And then also, this shit was just gross. It was fucking gross. The amount of time somebody's wet ass was described was insanity. And I mean, it makes sense and it's realistic it's like this medieval style world. Everybody's riding around on horses. They don't shower much. Like, yeah, I get it that in those types of times, people didn't really bathe and they probably stunk. I don't necessarily need my books to describe that in great detail. There is some body horror in this book as well. There's rape. There's pedophilia. People literally being mentally controlled to be sex slaves. It's a lot. I really liked the concept of this, and I didn't hate the book. The pacing was pretty solid. There were some things that were really interesting about it, but then it was very balanced. And that's where I came to my rating on my 1 to 10 of 5.5, just over halfway, which is 3 pushinicorns, but like a very low 3. Holy God, I'm finally done. Jesus Christ. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these, and if you have, what your thoughts are, all that fun stuff. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.